4 years, and that lets you save.
Look here.
True Form Life.
Green look on it.
Welcome to Exploring Mind and Body with Drew Tadia. Drew is an expert in nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and more. And he wants to help you live a healthier, longer, and more active life. Now here's your host, Drew Tadia.
Welcome to another edition of nationally syndicated Exploring Mind and Body. Thanks so much for being here with us. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of our True Form Life community. Whether you're listening on terrestrial radio across the country or as a podcast around the world, we certainly wouldn't be here without you. So again, thank you for being here. Today I'm bringing on David Krantz, and he's an epigenetic coach. And you're going to hear throughout this interview how challenging those words are for me to say. I suppose that word. He's an expert in the field of individualized, genetic-based nutrition and peak performance. Those are a lot of big words happening. But you're going to hear how much David knows about this subject, how much he has to offer, and how much value there is in this type of coaching. I got to tell you, it was intriguing to me to know that we can learn and understand and find out on a deeper level exactly what is going on with our DNA and what's going on in our genes and how we can help improve our health because of it. I know you're going to love this show. So sit back and enjoy. We got all that coming up. Fun!
This is Exploring Mind and Body. Naturally improve your lifestyle one show at a time with your host, Drew Tadia.
All right, welcome to another edition of nationally syndicated Exploring Mind and Body. You heard all about David Krantz in the introduction. So without further ado, welcome to the show, David.
Hey, thank you, Drew. Nice to be here. Look forward to talking to you here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. I'm a guy that wants to get into it. Let's do it. Give us a chance to resonate with you. Tell us about yourself and how you got into what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into what I'm doing right now kind of through my own convoluted, weird health journey. I think like a lot of us, we're kind of wounded healers and had to figure our own stuff out. But I ended up in my early 20s, I was a musician, I was a touring DJ, and the late night lifestyle I was living kind of threw my body out of whack, staying up late, playing shows, not getting home sometimes till 4 or 5 in the morning. And it really took a toll. And, I kind of just coasted previously to that on kind of standard American diet, eating whatever I wanted to, and never really gave my health much thought until it wasn't there. And I had some nervous system dysfunction going on. I was like passing out randomly. It was pretty scary stuff. And I got really into the biohacking world, got really into, just as much health information as I could possibly absorb. And I very fortuitously got involved with a doctor who was an expert in genetics and epigenetics. I was actually on my lunch break one day where I was working and noticed that my favorite logo the logo of one of my favorite podcasts was actually on the building next door, which was like, what's the chances of that, right? So I ended up booking a consultation with them, and it turned out they were actually looking for someone who had some audio engineering skills to do some meditation programs and binaural beats and that kind of thing. So I ended up working there, and right around that time, he started developing a training program for genetics and epigenetics, and I ended up being one of the first coaches he trained. So, I kind of took my own healing path, combined it with what he taught me, and I've been working with people ever since to kind of dial in optimal health and really look at a personalized precision approach using genetics to really optimize systems function and work with people on really meeting their goals on a very individualized kind of level.
All right, tell us about this word that I have trouble pronouncing. Epigenetics?
Epigenetics, yeah. So epigenetics, and you pronounce it perfectly, is the study of how genes change expression over time. And when I was in high school biology, we were taught that genes code for proteins, which code for traits. Like the reason your hair color and your eye color is what they are is because of your certain genetic code, the certain pattern of these little nucleotides in your gene, so that create these proteins. And that's true, but they didn't quite realize this until about 20, 30 years ago. It was the first time they started looking at this, that there's another control layer to all this, that those genes can actually turn up and turn down the expression of these proteins in response to different stimuli, like exercise. One of the biggest reasons exercise is so good for you is because it causes all these gene expression changes. I think there's studies that show about 8 weeks of regular exercise changes the expression of about 5,000 different genes. Meditation changes the expression of about 2,000 or 3,000 different genes. So you're responding to your environment, the food that you eat, the stress that you're under, whatever it is, your body's very adaptive. And at the very basic level, it's this genetic change in expression that really accounts for a lot of the either health promoting or health detracting things that we experience over time.
All right. So how do we get into the details of what you do? So someone comes in and they say, I need you to look at my genes. Like, how do they know that they need to come and see you? Or how do they find you to begin with, someone being like, I need some health changes, things haven't been working. How do you help me out?
Yeah, so I do see a lot of people that have tried other things that just haven't quite gotten the results that they're looking for, and tend to look for things that are a little more specialized and personalized. And that's one of the things that works really well for genetics is looking at the outliers, people that don't necessarily fit in the middle 50%, because the average human doesn't actually exist. It's kind of a myth, right? Like, there's no such thing as an average human, even though double-blinded placebo scientific studies want you to think that there is. So everyone's individual, and you can get into some really specific detail. In terms of the way I work with people, I do a genetic analysis, look at your genome, and then based on that, I can tell compared to a number of, tons of studies that have been done on this kind of thing. Say studies will take a group of people that have cardiovascular disease, group of people that doesn't, look at their diet and compare, okay, how can we correlate these different genetic variants to these things, or how someone responds to a certain type of exercise, or how much protein someone's eating. Does higher protein cause weight loss in this certain genotype, or promote weight gain in this certain genotype? And based on all these things, I can give people, a pretty personalized understanding of not just, what are the things that are going to lead to promoting health, but some of the reasons why certain things are going to cause your body to respond in a certain way. So it gets really pretty granular and deep on that level.
True Life.
Before we get into the show, I just want to mention Complete Truth Protein. This is a plant-based protein supplement that we've designed ourselves at Trueform. And the reason I designed it is because I felt like there was a need in the industry. Now, when I was traveling around the world, and I literally had a tackle box full of supplements and products and vitamins that did a whole lot more damage than good. So when I started doing more personal training and fitness classes, people would ask me what types of supplements I would recommend. And I always say, eat food. So that's why I've designed Complete Truth Protein around food. It's made with quinoa and hemp seeds. And one of the main benefits that it offers is improved digestion. So many of us deal with digestion issues on a regular basis. It also gives you a natural boost of energy. So if you head over to trueformlife.com/complete-truth-protein, we have tons of more details, videos, recipes, and everything you need to get going in the right direction with a good quality protein supplement. trueformlife.com/complete-truth-protein.
Trueform Life.
So for the first time someone comes and sees you, they walk into your office. Where do you meet them?
Yeah, so I do a lot of my work remotely. I have an office in Asheville, North Carolina, but most of my clients I see through Skype or Zoom. And the genetic testing, I can send a kit to your house and just do it. It's a cheek swab that you pop back in the mail. So a lot of what I do is online. Okay,
so you get that sent off to the lab. The lab sends you the results, and what do you do with it?
Yeah, so then I do an analysis. I look at a couple different clusters of genes that are related to different areas of health. So, nutrition, sleep, exercise, detoxification, and depending on what you want to look at, I compare your genes to what's known in the studies and what I've seen with clients, and really compare it to what your experience is. So, part of the benefit of working with a coach is I'm able to take, say if you're having difficulty losing weight, I can look at some of the things that you've tried in the past and compare that to, what I'm seeing in your genes and get this really robust big picture of, what's going to be most beneficial for weight loss. And so it's really kind of comparing the epigenetics, the things that you've encountered in the environment, the food you've eaten, what works, what doesn't work, with some of the precision analysis of the genes, and really can get to a pretty precision kind of plan from that direction.
It seems like so detailed. I gotta say, like, so if someone's talking to like a nutritionist and someone's talking to you, how's that different? Like, you can actually see the genes, you can actually see scientific data, and let's say a nutritionist, they are just talking to someone and like hearing their feedback. And many times you're not always getting the truth.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the big difference between me and a nutritionist, because I'm not a licensed nutritionist, is that I'm not treating disease with this. I'm looking at really optimizing systems function in the body, which, can lead to some changes in symptoms, but that's not my main focus. What I'm really looking at is how we can just optimize the way your body's working and kind of use that as a baseline. And, I do think that this type of information, nutritionists in 10, 20 years, they're going to be doing this. I think there's no question that the field is going to move in that direction. I mean, it's got to become best practice just with, what we know and how it works right now. There's just kind of a gap between the research and the clinical side and the application. And I'm just pretty fortunate to kind of linked up with a doctor who got really into the research and started using it in his clinical practice, basically ahead of time. So, I think that nutritionists in the future will be using this type of information. I just have access to it now.
Awesome. Okay, so when you're working with an individual client, what are some of the things that you see? Maybe you could share with our listeners we just kind of talked about how there's no like average type of person, but maybe what's some of the symptoms or some of the signs that you see most frequently that might be able to help some of our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest things I see are people wanting to lose weight, people having general energy and fatigue issues, and people really wanting more focus and more clarity in their thinking. So, I do a lot of work with kind of cognitive performance, and a lot of that is going to all those things are going to come down to lowering inflammation in the body, really working on healing the gut if people have gut issues. And really just aligning kind of daily routines with things that are going to feed and supply the body with the proper nutrients. And when you get those three things dialed in, I really do see positive results on a pretty regular basis.
So what kind of recommendations do you have specifically? Like, can you share what you would tell? Like, what would you tell your client that they need to do?
Yeah, sure. So, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone, obviously. But the core is going to be looking at what balance of macronutrients, what balance of carbs, fats, and proteins are going to be most helpful. I do see some people that are really well suited for, low carb, keto kind of stuff. Some people that are really more suited for more of like a vegetarian style approach, a lot of vegetables, more carbs. I see some people that are really more on a high protein kind of paleo angle there. And it really just depends. But, I look at that as kind of the core and really dialing in the specific types of fats that are going to work well for people. And from there, look at what pathways in the body might require more nutrients, more, say, B6 or B12, folate, things like that, and try and optimize that with some supplementation. And also look at things that are going to drive inflammation, maybe low mitochondrial function, and work on treating that with lifestyle stuff, certain types of exercise or cold exposure, good sunlight exposure, good sleep, kind of the foundational stuff. But then look at, some specific herbs and supplements that can also boost certain genes that when you look at the variants of, you can tell that might be a little bit lower functioning. And so if you're experiencing fatigue, well, we can kind of pinpoint it might be because you have this certain set of liabilities that we can kind of look at with the genes there.
Yeah, wow. Seems like you do you have a holistic approach. Like you do just about everything. So when you're looking at, you mentioned earlier someone that had lack of energy, for example. So is there, what are you looking at? Something shows up in the gene profile that says this is why you have lack of energy, or it shows that there is lack of energy?
I'm looking more at things that would lead to propensities and predispositions and that's why it's so important to, have the conversation and have the interview with a client and then say, here, let's talk about what you're doing. Let's talk about, what you're eating and all that, because, the genes themselves won't tell me this person is having lack of energy. That's what you're telling me. Okay. I'm looking at the genes and saying, okay, here's some reasons why. Let's, potentially try and offset that with certain types of nutrients or maybe some herbs and things. And the other thing is that it's, like you mentioned, it's holistic. It's hard to just focus on one thing and see good results. It's really about kind of the multi-systems approach, because we're complex beings and we got to kind of treat ourselves that way when we're working on this stuff. So, usually it's not one gene. Usually it very rarely ever is. It's a combination of factors.
True Form Life.
I couldn't be more excited to share with you our brand new magnesium supplement called TriMag. Now we've put together 3 different forms of magnesium. We also have potassium in there as well. This is a top quality magnesium supplement in liquid form. It's 95% absorbable, which is much different than 5% coming from a powder or pill. So look for a magnesium supplement with clean ingredients like a TriMag. If you want more details, head over to trueformlife.com/TriMag magnesium supplement. This will help you improve your sleep. It helps muscle recovery and soreness. It helps mood, digestion, and it will give you a natural boost of energy as well without the crash. So check out more details at trueformlife.com/TriMag magnesium supplement.
True Form Life.
So take me to energy, for example. Let's say someone comes to you and they have lack of energy. It's a big thing that we hear often. We hear like all the time. I don't have much energy. What kind of things do you recommend for them?
Yeah, so it's going to be specific to the person. But for example, I might look at genes that are going to be involved in the methylation cycle. And this is a really basic cycle in the body that provides these raw chemical energy groups. And sometimes people are, don't produce enough. And for those people, you can take extra folate, take extra B12, which are kind of the key ingredients in that cycle. Some people are more prone to just really high inflammation. And then I'm looking at genes that are going to be related to glutathione and other antioxidants. Maybe look at some of the inflammatory markers in the body, some of the cytokines, if any of your listeners are familiar with that. These are like the immune system signaling molecules in the body that kind of cause inflammation or recruit inflammation. And so we can look at certain genes that, for example, there's a gene called TNF that produces this inflammatory molecule. And certain people are much more sensitive to producing more of it when they're eating a diet that's high in saturated fat. And so with those people, if they're coming with low energy and they have the certain variant in TNF, first thing I'm going to do is probably say, all right, let's probably back off saturated fat, like a keto type approach, bulletproof type approach, probably not a good idea. And that's usually not the only thing going on, but that's one of them. I also probably look at some stuff with mitochondria, look at some of the antioxidants that are involved with energy production in the body, and see if there's anything we can do to optimize that.
What are some antioxidants that will help with energy?
Yeah, so there's one called SOD, or superoxide dismutase. This is one that's in the mitochondria, and there's a variant that causes some people to produce about 30 to 40% less of it than other people. I'm one of those people, and this was one of the big kind of aha moments for me, that there's a type of mushroom called chaga mushroom that's, the Chinese call it like the king of the herbs. It's, been in Chinese medicine forever. But the first time I ever took it, I felt like I was just like on fire, like had so much energy. And my wife at the time also drank it with me and just didn't feel much. She was like, yeah, whatever, you're kind of making this up to me. She didn't believe me. But then it kind of made sense later on when I looked at, and I did both of our genetic analysis, that I had one of the variants where I produce a lot less SOD. And chaga contains a whole lot of that antioxidant, like a super high amount of it. So what I think happened is that first time I ever took it, it kind of balanced out this lack of it in my system, and I just felt like I had all this energy all of a sudden. Now, on the other hand, my wife probably produced normal amounts of it, so she didn't really get that same response.
It's interesting. Are you familiar with magnesium at all, or how that works in the body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we recently designed our own magnesium supplement, and we used a few different forms. And some people, like we teamed up with a chemist. We did everything professionally and properly that we were supposed to do. But the results that have come in are incredible in many different ways. But one of the things that a lot of people are realizing, or one of the benefits and drawbacks, is like this huge boost in energy. And they're like, some of them are not sure what to do with it. They're like, oh my gosh, like, why do I have so much energy and what's happening? Is that something that you can explain?
I mean, magnesium is super important. And from a genetic perspective, I'll see some people that are naturally lower absorbers of magnesium, like in their actual intestinal lining, like they absorb less magnesium. I also look at some genes that have to do with more excretion of magnesium through the kidneys. And yeah, I'm a big fan of magnesium. It's kind of also one of the core things I use with people. I'm curious what forms you included in there. I really like the glycinate and threonate form.
I want to take a moment to tell you about Detoxify Yourself. Now, Detoxify Yourself is really a personal story that I put together in a book for my clients and family and those interested in how I teach to live a healthy lifestyle. I had no idea it would become a bestseller in a major city, Calgary, Alberta, where I grew up. I was on global news, and I want to share more about it with you right now. So Detoxify Yourself talks about the main food substances that I choose to avoid, which is no gluten, dairy, soy, or GMOs. So this is a 30-day meal plan that avoids all those substances. It also talks about the toxins not only we put in our body, but we put on our body as well, and the toxins we surround ourselves with, like a toxic environment. So if you want more details about Detoxify Yourself, if you want a kickstart on how to avoid these toxic substances, I have all the recipes laid out for you. I have all the information. It's very simple and easy to follow. So head over to trueformlife.com for more details.
Awesome. We have magnesium glycinate, we have threonate, and we have chloride. So we actually called it TriMag because of our three magnesiums. We call those our magnesium all-stars. And then we put potassium in there as well. And it's a liquid form, so it's will absorb at a higher rate.
Nice.
So, we only launched it at the time of this recording, but probably 3 months ago. And it's selling like crazy, and the benefits, of course, is our most exciting part of it. Like, everyone is so like over the moon about it. So it doesn't can't make us feel any better as health practitioners to offer a product that people are like, oh my gosh, how do I've never felt this good before.
That's great. I'm gonna have to try some of that because I like all those forms. I haven't really experimented with the chloride, but definitely will check that out because I like the other two.
Okay, so I feel like everyone should try this. Tell me the word again.
Epigenetic coaching.
Thank you. I feel like everyone should try epigenetic coaching, or everyone should have their DNA tested at some level. Would you recommend that to everyone, or to the average person that maybe I don't feel like I have too many health issues? I feel like I'm a pretty healthy individual, but would this be something that I could go and try anyways to see if I might be low or deficient, or to change up my diet or lifestyle at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I think that this provides just as much value to someone who's already healthy and really looking to optimize and kind of go to the next level. And I love working with people that are looking for that kind of optimization, that enhancement, because this allows such a an individualized understanding of your own body, no matter where you're at, you're going to find some things that you can apply and really take yourself from where you are now to some places you want to be. So yeah, I would say that pretty much everyone could benefit from it, especially if you're the type of person who's interested in seeing what you're capable of, seeing what your potential is. This is kind of a window into how you can, shift some lifestyle things, shift some diet stuff to take you to that next step.
Okay, so give me an example of someone that would come to you that's relatively healthy, someone that isn't coming to you for weight loss or for energy levels, someone that just wants to check out their DNA and maybe make some improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with he was a Broadway actor, and he had some stomach issues, but that wasn't the main thing. He was mostly looking for I want to increase focus, I want to increase energy, I want to kind of optimize my workouts. Really fit guy, really on it. I mean, you got to be in shows every day and memorizing lines and all that kind of thing. But anyway, so I did a genetic analysis with him, and he emailed me 2 to 3 months later and said that his energy levels were through the roof. He was able to focus on and memorize lines quicker than he ever had before, and was just super grateful that he had and he didn't even do that many things. He just made a couple little tweaks, added just maybe 2 or 3 supplements in that really kind of boosted his cognitive performance and focus and all that. So, I work with the whole range of people, but I really enjoy working with creative people, entrepreneurs, people that are high performers and that kind of thing too.
So why would that make a difference from someone who's not?
Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't necessarily make a difference in what their base genetic code is, but it would make a difference in what information we're taking from the genes and saying, all right, this is the most important or the most relevant for you. So depending on someone's goals, I'm going to look at different things in the genetics that are going to help you meet those goals. So if you have a goal of weight loss, I'm going to be looking at your genes specifically for that. If you have a goal of, improving blood sugar or insulin resistance, something like that, I'm going to look at it specifically for that. And if you're looking at it for energy levels and cognitive function, I'm going to be looking for some clues about that.
Okay, so if someone's interested in trying this, what do they do?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, david-krantz.com, and send me a message, or you can book a free 30-minute consultation directly on my calendar, and we'll have a conversation and see if we're a good fit to work together, talk about your goals, talk about, really what you want, whether it's more energy, more focus, more stable mood, some weight loss, and talk about some options and see what's right for you.
Awesome. Okay, so your website one more time is
David-Krantz, David-Krantz.com.
Okay, we can contact you there. And then is there anything that we missed that you wanted to mention before we wrap things up here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if there's one last thing I'll leave people with, it's, just that sense of curiosity about what you're capable of. I find so compelling, and I love working with other people that have that curiosity about the edge of their performance or the edge of, what they're able to do. And I love working with people that are interested in that.
Awesome. All right, David, thank you so much for joining us today on Exploring Mind and Body. It was a pleasure. This stuff is super interesting to me. So I'm happy that our paths have crossed and I got a chance to learn more about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Drew. Pleasure talking to you.
True Form Life.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Exploring Mind and Body. As always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sticking around till the end and being a part of our True Form Life community here. There's so much takeaway, so much value. I feel so grateful to sit in front of experts like David and have this show here that we can learn and listen from experts and share with you and anyone else who's willing to listen. All past shows are going up on exploringmindandbody.com. So if you ever miss a past show, you can go back and check out all the shows there. We're also on, as most of you know, we're also a podcast. Some of you could be listening on terrestrial radio, but we're also a podcast as well. So iTunes, Spotify, all the podcasting platforms as well. TrueFormLife.com is where you can find more details for our own products and services. We do fitness, exercise, reducing stress. We have tons of recipes on our website, tons of workouts, all kinds of different things to help you reduce stress, help improve your digestion, help you gain energy naturally. That's something that we specialize in at True Form Life. Once again, thank you so much for being here. That's it. That's all I got. I'm out of here. As always, I'm your host, Drew Tadia, in health and fitness for a better world. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Exploring Mind and Body with True Form Life's Drew Tadia, fitness expert. To find out more about the show, Drew Tadia, or to listen to past shows, visit exploringmindandbody.com.